But before that, I would like to take you through some accounting concepts, which are basically basics of accounting profession, and different resources call them by different names, such as accounting rules, accounting principles, and so on. But the textbook that we are using calls them the accounting concepts. There are 11 of them as listed here. We'll try to understand them one by one with the help of an example company, and we'll be studying two types of statements. One is the balance sheet, and the second is the profit and loss statement. We'll learn the first five concepts using the balance sheet, and the remaining six using the profit and loss statement. There is one more type of statement called as the cash flow statement, which we are not covering in this course because of lack of time. But if you are really interested, you should explore that subject as well. So let's turn to the example company that I was talking about. This is the company I'm taking, Cipla. I have taken this annual report from the website of the company, and it's also available on the stock exchanges and the regulator's website and many other places. So it starts with some notice and other things. I know that the main annual report starts on page 23. So this uh, talks about some of the front page and some other material. So these are the table of content which we are looking for. Now at this point I would also like to urge you to uh, develop a habit, or make it a practice of going through annual reports of different companies, at least the companies that you admire, or the companies that you wish to work for, or the sector that you want to work in, because they are a very rich source of information, and it's up to date and current information, and you get to know a lot about what different companies are doing. All this information is there. What we will be looking at is these financial statements, which starts at page 226 to 416. And within that, there are two categories they have mentioned. One is the standalone statements, which are a single legal entity without considering the subsidiaries. But typically, most large companies don't operate just on their own. They have so many subsidiaries through which the action takes place. So we will be looking at that through the consolidated statements. This is the page mentioning consolidated financial statements. It starts with some report from the auditors and other such things, which is not of much interest to us. Let's move to the place where we are more interested in as the students of accounting, which is the balance sheet as at 31st of March 2021, which is the latest available data. So what this balance sheet contains, the particulars, is the assets, which are what the company owns, what the company is in possession of, and then equity and liabilities, which in a way is what the company owes. So where the investors have put money either as equity or as loans. So loans are your liabilities, and equity is basically a statement of ownership. So the reason it is called as a balance sheet is because you have purchased all these assets which you are reporting, and these assets have been purchased using the equity and liability. So both these values are in balance always. So for example, the last year the assets total value was 23,662 crores, and the equity and liability total is also 23,662 crores. So right up until the last rupee, both these things will match. They are always in balance. Now let's try to understand line by line. The first item that I would highlight here is that all the amounts are rupees in crores, right? So anything that is reported in this statement, and as a matter of fact for all financial reporting, is mentioned in rupees, which is basically our first concept of money measurement. That all the values that get reported in a financial statement will be reported in money measurement terms and not in any other terms. So we will not tell it in terms of number of people or number of machines or area in acres or number of buildings or any such things. We will always use rupees as our unit of measurement. So that is the first accounting concept, and it is in use, quite straightforward. The second one I will mention by taking this particular example, that this annual report and specifically these statements belong to this legal entity called as Cipla Limited, which is a public limited company in India as per the Companies Act 2013. So the accounting statements will always pertain to that particular legal entity which they are reporting. Right? Let me write it down as well. And then there is a third concept which is also related to this. But first, let me complete. So this is entity concept. And then the third concept, which is also related to this, is it is a going concern. What this means is that the business, the Cipla Limited, is believed to be remaining in existence forever. In other words, this company will not fold down or close shop in say 6 months or 1 year or 5 years or 10 years. It is believed to remain in business for a foreseeable future. And all the statements that we report are with that assumption, that the business will not shut down, the business will continue operating. So these are three straightforward assumptions, I presume. So these are the three concepts that get used. Next, let us look at the fourth one, which is called as the cost concept. What it means is that all these values that you are seeing here, and these are the values on the asset side. So these are things which the company owns. So the ownership of the asset, at the time of taking ownership, some amount may have been spent on it, say for purchasing land or for purchasing a machine, and subsequently also you may have put in some more money for augmenting capacity or painting the facility or some such things. So all those costs have been meticulously recorded, and this value is a sum total of all historic cost. So basically what cost concept means is that the assets are valued at costs that have been incurred on that particular asset. So if you purchased land of say 1 acre, and say you purchased some 40-50 years ago, at which time the value was maybe 1 lakh or 1.5 lakhs. So it will be recorded on your book at that value only. Even if its value today is in crores, you will not measure it in crores, you will measure it on actual historic costs. So that's the fourth concept, which is cost concept. Now let me take some time to go through different items here. As you can see, there are two columns. I'm sorry, the second column is not visible. Let me move a little bit. So the first is the right hand column is 31st March 2020, that is last year, and then the year being reported. So both these values are being shared. There are different items, and then against each item sometimes there is a note. These notes are different pages which you will find at the after these main statements, and they explain in detail, in greater detail. So for example, if it is property, plant and equipment, which is in note 2.1. If you go to note 2.1, you will find that there are greater details about maybe different locations, different countries, different types of machines. They may be owning some vehicles or such things. So all that is mentioned in that note. So right now we are not getting into that detail. Let's understand at the first level how all the total assets of the company are divided. So you see A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K and L. So these are all non-current assets, which means they will be with the company for more than a year, in general course of business. And subsequently you have some current assets, A, B and C, which are typically the company does not expect them to stay with you for longer. So since this is a shorter list, let me go through that real quick. Number one is inventories, which are your raw materials or your finished goods. You expect that you will sell them in a few weeks or a few months. You don't expect today's medicines to be sold next year and the year after, right? Then some financial assets. If you recall our that schematic about investors putting money into companies give back financial assets. So these are those. Cipla may have made investments into some other company, so that is an asset for this company. Trade receivables, these are basically you supplied goods but you have not received the money yet, so these are called as receivables. So payments that are yet to come to the company. Number three is cash and cash equivalent, which means some things which are as good as cash. Suppose some certificates or treasury bills or some banker's check or some demand draft, which are very, they are as good as cash. You can sort of exchange, or traveler's check and so on. Then bank balances and other than cash and cash equivalent. So they may have kept some money in bank deposits. Loans, these are loans given to maybe employees or maybe to partners or maybe to some other people. So all these are assets, which means the company owns them, and company, if necessary, company can sell these and raise money, right? And then other financial assets. All the details are there. I would encourage you to go through these notes and understand them in greater detail. And then there may be some other current assets, such as some tax rebate that is pending, or somewhere you have parked money for a short term which you want to raise it, take it back. There may be some escrow account in which money has been kept, or some dispute in which court has told you to deposit some money. So all these are actually your assets. They have still not been parted from you. They are still with you, but they are in different places for different reasons. Now coming to the non-current assets, these are the more permanent assets, such as property, plant and equipment. We already saw. Right of use assets, these are in a way you can say lease. I may if you have some special economic zone or some IT park or some such locations, you cannot own the land. The government purchases the land and gives you on a lease. So this is a right of use asset. Similarly, you may hire a vehicle. So that vehicle is not your own, but it is on rent, but you have a right of use for maybe 5 years, maybe 7 years. You may have taken a building or a floor of a building or some office space on a long-term lease. So these are those, and you can see the details in 2.2. Capital work in progress, which is basically your capital works, which means investments that you are making into property, plant and equipment, or these right of use assets, but it has not completed yet. It is not ready to use. Completion certificate has not been given. You expect that to happen in coming days or coming weeks, but till such time you need to put them as work in progress. Then you see this last year's working progress of 421. Either some of it or all of it would have become this year's assets, right? And then this year you have some work in progress which will become capital assets in the subsequent year. Next, so we will quickly go through all the items. You may not understand everything at first go, but as we do more examples and we compare it with different companies, some things may get clear. So next is investment properties. These are investments you are making for long term. You also had some investment in the short term, that is current assets, which you expect to exit in less than 1 year. But these are investments which you have for more than 1 year. You could see the details in note number 3. Next is goodwill. So goodwill is actually a plug variable. I mean, unlike what it means in English language, here it is more of an amount that you paid more than the fair or an objective value, but you need to use it for balancing somewhere. So let me give you an example. Let's say there is a busy market and you are eyeing a property which is at the nice location. The property quality is good. The property was purchased at say 1 lakh rupees 20 years ago. So its book value is 1 lakh. You get it valued by an independent person and that person tells you that it is maybe worth 20 lakhs today. Now you are really interested to buy it. You go make an offer, say that I'll pay you 20 lakhs and you please give me that property. The person says no, I mean they don't want to part it with it. So you make an higher offer, say you offer them 25 lakhs. And because you want the property really bad, it has, I mean, you have plans with it, you want to open some facilities there and put it to good use. So that 25 lakhs is a good deal for you. You want to pay that amount, but the book value of that is 20 lakhs only. Why? Because the independent valuer has told you that it is worth 20 lakhs. But additional 5 lakh you are still ready to pay as goodwill, and it gets recorded as such in your books. So over the course of so many years, this business has paid about 3,000 crores an investment into goodwill. So it's another way of saying that to close the deal, I paid a little higher than what was fair. And I need to now record it somewhere, so I am recording it here. So what will happen is you paid 25 lakhs, of which 20 lakhs is the fair value of the asset that you will buy, and 5 lakhs will go into goodwill. So that's the rough explanation of this particular item. Next is intangible asset. A company like Cipla does not own only plants and machineries. They also own some know-how, some certifications, some patents, some trade secrets. So all these are intangible assets because we cannot touch and feel these assets. These are there in the brain of people, and these are there on a secret document or a formula somewhere. So as you can see, this company has roughly 1400 crores worth of intangible assets, and the property, plant and equipment is 4600 crores. So roughly 1/3 of their total property value is in intangibles. And if you go to a more tech savvy company such as Alphabet or Facebook or such, you will find that a much bigger share is in intangible assets. And if you go to a more brick and mortar company, companies that do mundane work, for instance, say mining companies or cement companies, so they have some know-how and some intangible assets, but most of their assets are in property, plant and equipment. So this is a distinction that you should try to keep seeing as you look at different companies' reports. Next is investment in intangible assets under development, which is similar to capital work in progress. Investment in associates, which are the partners or suppliers or other sort of companies whom you do some business. You may have put some investment in those companies as well, for a some collaborative efforts, or for joint development, or for various reasons. So these are those investments against which those companies have given you shares. Next is financial assets, which are uh, long-term nature, because these are non-current assets. So you have made some investments, you have given some loans, and some other financial assets, something similar to the current assets which we saw. Then there is an income tax asset, which means the income tax department owes you some money. Some of your money is lying with the department. Maybe you may have paid some excess tax, just to be on safer side, not to fall short. So those are your assets. Uh, Deferred tax assets. So that is, income tax law has provision for you to defer some of the tax. You need not pay it immediately, but you may have still paid it, and it's one of the assets that you have. That means you don't have to pay in future, right? So your money is lying with tax department, both in J and K. Lastly, other non-current. So there will be some other categories, like some amount you may have kept for employee welfare, or some such money may be lying at different places. So that's this. So point in all of these values is, as I said, the cost concept holds. That is, everything is recorded at its historic cost that was incurred. Let me now move to the next part, and I will introduce the fifth concept in this. Let me write it down here, which is the dual aspect. Now, what this means is, assets, which we saw, is the sum total of owner's equity plus liability. So we saw that the total asset is 23,662, and the liability is also 23,662. So that balance is maintained, and that balance is maintained through this dual aspect of nature of accounting. So two parts on the other side. One is the equity, which has these three subtypes, and then liabilities. So equity number one is the equity capital, which was raised at the time of IPO or any other way directly from the investors, which is 161 crores. Then there is something called as other equity, which is 18,160 crores. So what this other equity is, basically saved profit or retained earnings, as the technical term is, from all the previous years. So the company is in existence for many decades, and every year they may be making some, so many crores of profit. Not all of it they are distributing. Some of the profits they are keeping with the company, in the company's reserves, company's bank account, and all of that put together is now 18,165 crore rupees. You can see the details in the notes as you go along. Then the company may have given some other forms of equity. The most notable is our preference share. So that is the non-controlling interest. It means they don't get the voting rights, whereas this is the ordinary shares who get the voting rights. So all three put together is equity. The value is about 16,000 crores. We will go with the same figures because we are comparing this year. Then there are liabilities. So the serial number 2 is blank, so we are not considering that. Then liabilities again have two types, the non-current liabilities and current liabilities. And the sum total of both of them is about 7,600 crores. Equity is 16,000 crores, and both put together will give you 23,000 crores. So out of this 7,600 crores, 3,200 is non-current, that means long-term liabilities, and 4,394 is short-term or the current liabilities. So what are the non-current liabilities? Number one, borrowings of about 2,300 crores, other financial liabilities, then provisions, which means I am expecting some expenses to happen in future, but I am making provision for them today itself. So let me give an example. When an employee retires, the employee may be getting some retirement benefits such as gratuity, provident fund. There may be some pension if it has been agreed, or some leave encashment or some such benefits. And some of these benefits are there at the time of resignation also. So uh, they have not happened yet, but I know that any employee who is working today is going to retire in the coming years. So I need to start keeping money aside today itself, so that suppose suddenly a lot of employees retire, I don't have to search around and find money at that time. So I will keep aside some money now itself. So those are these provisions. Tax liabilities. So some tax, as I said, you need not pay now. They can be paid over a period of time. They can be deferred. So even one option is I will still pay some advance tax and keep them in the with the income tax department and treat them as asset because I have already paid them. I was not supposed to pay, but I have paid extra. But sometimes I may pay a little less, and then those will be the liabilities because sooner or later I need to pay those. As they say in life, there are only two things which are certain. One is death and second is tax. So tax is certain, it is going to happen. So I need to keep some money aside, and that is my liability for future. And then there may be other non-current liabilities. Coming to the current asset side, current liability side, again, you may have borrowed some money for short term. You know, you may be, you may have sent some export shipment, and you are expecting the money to be paid after the ship reaches the destination, which may happen in another month. But for that time, you need some money to be paid to your employees or to your suppliers or to pay electricity bill or something. So you may borrow short term, for 15 days, for 1 month, for 2 months, for 3 months, 6 months. So these are those borrowings. Again, you can see the details in this note. Then trade payables are basically dues. This is opposite of trade receivables, which we saw on the asset side. These are the items, bills that have been raised on you, and you are now supposed to repay those people. Say, as I said, electricity bill. Someone has, I mean, the electricity company has given you the bill. It is payable. You have not paid yet. So that is a liability. Someone supplied you the raw materials for medicines, the API, and those are, the truck has come, they have raised the bill for you, but you have still not paid. So that's another liability. So like that, you may have several liabilities because you don't immediately pay. You may want to receive it, count it, see whether the quality is good or not. And after that, you may say that I will, try a sample run, see what happens, and after that I pay. So a lot of things happen. So all these are that amount. So the company owes about 81 crores to small and medium enterprises and 2,200 crores to larger companies. So and then again you have provisions and current liabilities and income tax liabilities and so on. So all these are your short-term or current liabilities, typically less than 1 year. Right? So you have the non-current plus current liabilities plus equity all put together is your total equity and liabilities of 23,662 crores, which matches your total assets. So this is basically about balance sheet. We quickly saw 5 concepts. The 5th concept was this dual aspect, which is basically balancing the two parts. 4th concept was that the value of assets recorded is at cost, right? Actual historic cost which was incurred. Third concept was going concern concept, that is the company will remain in business forever. And the second concept was entity concept, that everything that we report belongs to this particular public limited company and not its employee, not its owner, not its any other thing, right? So we are maintaining the books for this particular company. There is an account in the company's name and everything belongs to the company. And lastly, the number one concept was everything we report and measure is in rupees. So, and which is mentioned right here, it is rupees in crores. So I'll stop this video on balance sheet right here. And if there are any questions, we will discuss those. And then subsequently later, I will share the P&L statement video.